What is going on, everybody? I am so excited to announce the rear end, the rear differential that I'm going to be installing in my Duramax. You guys know what ended up happening. Had a failure on the highway, went sideways, rear differential locked up.
This is not good.
Had some issues, had to get the truck towed. Been doing some research. Reached out to the guys at Kodiak Truck in North Prairie, Wisconsin, which, if you're following me, this is pretty exciting. You guys know that they built my transfer case as well, and I would say the best in the business, and I mean that. When I deliver certain products to you guys, and I'm not talking like, you know, light bars and tail lights and stuff. I mean like real stuff that matters, like drive lines, turbos, you know, injectors, anything, tuning, you know, things like that. If I'm going to give out advice, I want to give you the best in the business. That's kind of where I'm getting at. I want to keep a good reputation with you guys in this diesel community. And Mark has really came through big time. What separates this axle from the one that I currently have, it has a G80 in it. Okay, that's what I currently have existing in it. It's 11.5. If I'm speaking a different language, just watch the video. It's going to give you a little bit better understanding. But the G80 has clutches. It has a governor. Ramp plate, there's all kinds of stuff that can actually go wrong and a lot of failures. What Mark at Kodiak Truck is going to do is he's actually going to rebuild this rear end with a track right. And the good thing about this is there's no clutches, there's no governor, it's posi, it's super strong. I can letter eat, I can beat on it as hard as possible, and I'm not going to worry about anything. My goal here, guys, is to reach 700 horsepower. And if I go anything exceeding that, I mean, I'm talking 800 horsepower, I should still be good. The only thing I have to worry about now is just those axles. I gotta upgrade those axles. But that hub carrier assembly is super beefy, it's super strong, and we don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about this anymore. So make sure you guys watch this video from start to finish, and thank you guys so much for following the channel.
All right, we got an axle here that we're going to be building for Josh, and basically I started doing some disassembly already. Got the axle shafts out of it. As I took them out, I noticed somebody used silicone on them. That's a definite no-no in my book. We never silicone those in. We always end up using the factory gasket in there. Reason being is you can end up packing your wheel bearings full of silicone if you put too much in there. It's just not a good way to go. They make a gasket for it. They're not much money. And we just put those in and it works a lot better. I've basically done some initial tear down here. You guys can see I've already pulled the main caps, the retainer clips for the adjuster wheels for setting your backlash and everything. We're gonna go ahead, get the carrier out of this thing, tear everything down, get everything washed and prepped, and housing all cleaned up and everything else. And we'll come back to you here in just a bit with our assembly video once we got everything ready to roll. But I wanted to just give you a brief rundown what we did. Basically, like I said, retainer clips out, bolts off the main cap, out of the way, back our adjusting wheels off so we can pull our carrier now, and then we'll get our yoke pulled off with our puller and get the pinion out of this. All right, we got the carrier out. We're going to show you a few things. We're going to show you the carrier that we took out, and we're going to show you a carrier we took out of one yesterday that's junk, and we're going to show you the difference in these and what to look for. If you look down in here, this is they call it the governor. That's the drive gear that runs what they call a ramp plate. This is the ramp plate here. If you look at this, you'll see all the teeth are on this one, and the ramp plate is all intact. We move over to the other unit, we can see that the teeth are totally blasted off this drive gear. They're gone. And the teeth on here are knocked out along the way. There's some that are missing and they skip. I've also seen where these ramp plates, which is this piece, which is just that, it turns when it locks and drives the side clutches up, where they'll crack into pieces and they'll actually jam and lock the rear end up like you got a spool in the rear end. When we put this unit back together, we are not putting the gov lock back in. Pulling this out, you're gonna wanna make sure that you'd never hammer on this yoke or anything. This is basically like a harmonic balancer. This all was designed because of harmonic vibrations and everything else, and that's why they went to this setup. Basically, we just use a T-puller going through the holes. We thread our bolts into there, and we'll blast the yoke right off of here. Then we'll go ahead. We're going to end up getting the pinion out of here, and we're going to clean up the housing. All right, we're going to go ahead and get these hubs off. We're going to pull the snap ring here that holds the chunk of key stock in. You can either pull a key stock with a needle nose like I am, or you can even try a magnet. That'll work. Pull the key stock out, and then basically get your spanner socket in there. Take this nut off. We're going to pull the hubs. We're going to pull the back hub seal on this, and get the bearings out, wash them, inspect them, make sure everything's happy. Generally, these bearings run a long time in here. There's not an issue. I've easily seen these things run 300,000 miles if they're taken care of. Light tap with pry bars. We'll have the hub come right off. Seal and everything came right with it. So we'll clean up these spindles. We'll clean this all up. We'll stick 2 new GM seals in this thing as we get back going on assembly. All right, we got our spindles all cleaned up, ready to go. The hubs are going to end up going back on. We got our new axle seals in there. We always trickle a little bit of gear oil on the bearings before we put these back together. We trickle some oil down in on the back and front bearing, put the seal in, grease the seal real good. I like to wipe a little gear oil just on the lip of this seal and on the lip where it's going to go over. These can be a real chore to get in without wrecking the seal. We're going to go ahead and get this hub back up on here now, and I'm going to show you our method of doing it. What I like to do is I get this nut started down in there a ways, and then as I start tightening this, and I use a very small ratchet, I don't go crazy, I like to keep spinning the hub, and just that alone will work that seal down in there where we need to get it. And you'll feel the socket as you get down close, you'll feel it bottom out. And at that point, I'll show you the next step we do. All right, right there we felt it bottom. Now we're gonna look down in here. We're gonna see our spline is off just a hair. We're almost there where we can get our key stock back in. We have 0 preload on the bearings right now. We're in a real good spot here. The thing I like to do next is just take a dead blow, hit the face of this a couple times just to make sure that our hub is fully seated, that we don't have a false sense of bottoming this out on the actual seal on the spindle. 2 good whacks like that. We can feel we got no movement. We're down where we need to be. Now we're gonna bring that keyway around, line up our keyway, which we're right there. We'll be able to get our key stock back in. Perfect. Now we're gonna drop our snap ring back on. Make sure you get the finger that comes off the bottom of that directly back in the groove. And there we are, we're perfect, good to go. Now as far as the rest of the housing, we're gonna be ready to drop the pinion back in this, which we're gonna do next. When we clean these, we thoroughly clean them. We pull the adjuster wheels out, we flush both tubes center to center. What we end up doing is we actually put some clean shop rags down on this side. We run brake solvent and down through the axle tube. We blow it out real good with a real long blowgun. We let everything drop down through the center into a bucket, and then we just reverse it and do the same thing on this side. Then we end up flushing everything out of the center section at the end. We double check, we wipe all our tubes, make sure everything's clean of debris. This axle did have some goo down inside. You'll find that if you take these adjusting wheels out, after you have a G80 in here and your clutches start to work, you're gonna find that most of your material is built up behind this adjuster wheel inside the tubes. So at any rate, at this point, we're in good shape to do that. We've got our races in the housing ready to go, and we're gonna get a pinion in. All right, we got the yoke off. If you look at these yokes closely, you'll see this one's plenty crusty. We're gonna get this thing all cleaned up and run through the glass bead cabinet and everything else. But when you look at this, it looks like there's a speedy sleeve on here. That's exactly what it is. There's a speedy sleeve right on that from the factory. This is not part of the pinion seal. The pinion seal is separate in the housing. Some guys are like, well, that kind of sucks. I ran a speedy sleeve on it right from the get-go. Really, it doesn't, and here's why. In the old days, when they didn't have a speedy sleeve on these, you'd wear the yoke out, you'd pitch the yoke out. Now, you wear this out, you can pull the speedy sleeve off and put a new speedy sleeve on and save the yoke. The difference is a $15 speedy sleeve versus a $150 to $200 yoke. All right, we're gonna put our pinion assembly in. We got our base bearing on, we got our shim in there, brand new crush sleeve. We're gonna trickle a little bit of oil on each of these bearings because we wanna simulate running condition when you're going down the road. So we never preload or mess around putting these bearings in when they're dry. Always get a little bit of oil on them so everything's spinning smoothly. Also, you notice on the yoke, we pulled our speedy sleeve off. We're gonna replace that. We're gonna put a brand new one on. When we put this pinion assembly in now, we're gonna put it in with no pinion seal, no speedy sleeve, no nothing. The only reason we're not doing the speedy sleeve right now is we just haven't got to that point. We're gonna put that on after the fact. we don't put a pinion seal in because we don't want a false sense of drag with the hub on the seal. We want to be able to determine all our drag on the bearings and the bearings only. So when we do put our yoke on finally at the end, what we're going to end up doing is take some more of this sealant and we're going to smear it on these splines so we don't get any leakage of these splines out between the pinion stem and the yoke itself. So we're going to put this together and preload this, and I'm going to show you guys how this goes. We're going to get our bearing up in there. This can be really, really tricky, especially on a one-man job. We're going to get our bearing tapped in there. They do fit snug down in there, so you got to work with these a little bit, get it started ways far enough down on so that you can get your yoke on there and washer and pinion nut. All right, we got our yoke on. We got enough thread hanging out here. We're gonna get our washer on. We'll always use a brand new pinion nut also. We're on. Now we're gonna take the impact, and this is the money shot right here. You got to make sure you do this right. You over tighten this, you basically wreck it, and you're gonna have to start all over, pull it back apart, put a new crush sleeve in. So here we go. All right, we're just about down there. I had to switch out airlines, get to my bigger airline. It takes a lot of volume of air on the gun to do this. We got just minimal end play right now. We're gonna take this nut down a little further. I always watch the socket so I can determine how much forward motion we have, how much pressure we're putting on these bearings. Right there we have zero end play, but you see how easy that spins? Should not spin that easy. So we're gonna put some preload down on these. Right there is what we're looking for. Shouldn't take more pressure to start the rotation of the yoke than it does to maintain it. If it does, you're in trouble. This even goes true for even just replacing your pinion bearing. And on final assembly, again, I'm gonna reiterate this. When we do final assembly on this, we get our pinion seal in, we get our yoke back on. Absolutely, brake cleaner the nut, brake cleaner the thread, blow it all off. It has to be oil free, and we're gonna use red Loctite gel on it. All right, we dropped our carrier and our ring gear back in. I've already taken the adjuster wheels down to where I believe our backlash needs to be. Guys, look, what we ended up putting in here is an AAM unit. It's a factory style unit from a Dodge. They call it a track right. We've had excellent success with these. In fact, zero failure. I've had guys put 800, 900 horsepower to these and not break them. You're probably going to break your 30 spline shafts before you would ever hurt the internals of this unit. This is a helical driven unit, much like a True Track, all gear driven, no clutches to fail, no nothing. They work excellent. If you drive your truck normal every day, you think you got an open rear end. Doesn't affect you at all. You at all get on the throttle, any bit of throttle. Like the gov lock, there's no governor to lock in. You have instant positive traction. About the only downside really to these units is if you're out on a lake, you're ice fishing or something, you go out for the day, if either tire has less than 5% traction, it'll act like an open differential. The way to trick this unit is to simply drag your foot on the brake. That causes resistance and causes both tires to drive again. So we're gonna drop our main caps on. We're just gonna run them down with the impact for now. We're not gonna go full torque spec on them. We're gonna run a pattern on this. I'm gonna show you. We're gonna show drive and coast on this. What I always like to do is after I get it in, I wheel the carrier around 3-4 times just to make sure that the carrier's seated where I want it. Then I go back and I feel the backlash in here. A lot of you guys use gauges for this. I don't. I haven't used a gauge in 30 years. Some guys are probably going to critique me on that. Doesn't really matter. I've had zero failures with rear ends over the years. Basically, we're looking for somewhere around 5 to 7 thousandths of backlash. That's exactly where we're at right now. So we're going to put some compound on this thing and pattern it up and see what we got. Now we're going to wheel this thing around. We're going to do probably 3-4 passes each direction on it. And what we're doing is we're pulling against the pinion right now. So that is going to basically give us the resistance we're looking for to get an accurate pattern on here. This may be difficult to see on camera, but when we get back to it, I'm going to show you exactly where we're at on this thing. This is always a lot easier when it's in the truck also. When you're doing this in the truck too, once you set the carrier up in there, you're definitely going to need to put your main caps on, or that carrier is going to want to fall out. So you're going to stick your main caps on, just run your bolts down loosely. You won't have to go crazy with it or anything. And that'll hold that carrier up in there so the thing doesn't end up falling back out on you. The carrier and ring gear alone is pretty close to 100 pounds just by itself, so it's a chunk of iron. So we're going to bring it back up here to where we put our compound on. We're going to look down in here, and basically we got our pattern running right now right between this area, which is a good situation. So at any rate, that's our drive side. We're going to look over on our coast side, and our coast side looks good also. Now this is a used gear set. It's not brand new. This gear set had low miles on, but if you look, you can see our coast pattern right in here, which is nice. Everything looks good. Our backlash still feels perfect, and we're going to get back up in here and we can see exactly where our drive pattern is right down through here. So basically, some guys like to set that pattern directly down the middle. You'll see ours is a little inboard. There's a reason for that. Anybody that doesn't think that this housing flexes under load is kidding themselves. There's a reason why they make girdles for the back of these, for truck pulling and everything else, even drag racing. So what we tend to do is we'll run that pattern in just a hair. So under extreme load, that drive wants to come outward. The whole pattern wants to walk out. Under extreme load, that pattern will move a hair, and we will be right down the middle. Basically, we're going to end up putting our retaining clips in here for our adjuster wheels. We're going to flip it back around, put our pinion seal in, which we're going to show here in a few minutes, and we'll be able to button this thing up and roll. Torque our caps, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys, here's our finished product. We got our track right in, our new bearings, seals, everything else. Pattern beautiful. She's ready to roll to Michigan. If you guys want your differential built, we can do it in your truck if you're in the area or you're willing to drive. This unit here will easily handle Josh's power that he's looking to make at 700 horse. Probably withstand 850, 900. Probably your weakest link on this whole setup at this point is going to be the stock axle shafts, which can always be upgraded to alloy shafts, which will easily get you to the 900 horsepower range, which most of you guys, if you don't have a built motor, you're not hitting those numbers anyways. This makes a very, very affordable unit. We can always upgrade your posse ahead of time with a new set of carrier bearings and races if you choose to do that also. And we do ship these. When we do ship them though, there is no brakes on them, nothing. They're stripped down to a bare spindle. Basically, we build your center section, you swap your brakes and hubs over. I hope you guys found this great. As Josh told you, we got a truck show coming up in June 22nd. We're hoping a bunch of you guys can make it. We're looking forward to it. We're going to have a great day. We're just going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, this is going to be on its way to Michigan. Thanks a lot, you guys. If you need any of our products or anything, hit us up at Ryan's Diesel Service or Kodiak Truck.
So I hope that video was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and leave their company's information in the description below. Reach out to them if you have any questions. Again, they're in North Prairie, Wisconsin. And Kodiak Truck and Ryan's Diesel Service, it's father-son. Ryan's Diesel Service is actually the company that rebuilt my turbo to the 68mm street turbo that is currently inside of my truck. So, and also I've done previous videos on that. If you guys want to watch install videos, it's going to save you guys thousands of dollars too if you guys just do this on your own. But other than that, guys, that's all the time that I have today. Let me know what you guys think. Drop them in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, truck_master07. Guys, we got like a week and a half left, I think. April 15th, that's when the drawing is. And I can't wait to release this. This is the AR15 exhaust tip, 4-inch to a 6-inch inlet. You guys, if you're running a 5-inch, you can actually do the adapter piece and But man, this is a beefy, heavy exhaust tip right here. This was on Truck Masters Duramax, and you could be the proud owner. All you got to do is just buy a decal. That's it. They're 10 bucks on them. I'll leave the eBay link in the description. It's going to be either a Duramax Life decal, Power Stroke, or Cummins. So you guys let me know. And again, thank you so much for those entries, for everyone who's actually bought them. You know, I've had some people actually buy 4 decals. So thank you so much for your time, guys. You guys are awesome, incredible. You guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.